RC Helicopter, a PS1 game released in 2002 by A1 Games. Featuring a total of 13 locations, it has quite a bit to do for what would be considered a shovelware game by today's standards. While I've noticed a few localization issues like optionals in the main menu and a few grammar errors, but there wasn't really anything too extreme with that, so I'm not going to hold that against them. But the basic rundown is do a task, get paid, head to the next area, and then upgrade when you need to or you can. How much you get paid is determined by a few things, including how long you took, how many hits you took, and how much you drained your battery. Each map has a base reward, I think. That's what I got while info gathering during playing and based the script on. And then there's also a hidden par time, which nets you a bonus if you beat par. Then you subtract 200 points per hit you take, and I believe 100 points per battery segment. The controls are pretty much the same as an actual RC remote for helicopters and planes. Your left stick's north and south makes you lean forwards and backwards. East and west rotates you left and right respectively, while the right stick's north and south makes you ascend and descend. East and west lets you bank left and right, which can let you ease into a turn, and it can also make things more cinematic. If you don't have an analog controller, however, everything gets mapped to the D-pad and the face buttons. If you hit a wall too fast, including the ceiling or the sky, your RC will fall to the nearest ground and possibly bounce on its way down while spinning your camera. It also won't stop your battery from draining. It's a little disorienting, but it doesn't last long. At the beginning, your dad gifts you an RC helicopter. Wanting to show off your new toy and make all of your friends envious, you practice in the first area, your room, which isn't the best area to practice, but they tell you not to worry about the damages. Plus, it's not my house, so who cares? You're tasked with landing on 7 different helicopter pads around your room. Now, it could be the fact that I'm not using original hardware, but I felt the controls were a little sensitive, but I can't deny that I wasn't giggling my butt off while I was playing this. After landing on all 7, you get 1,000 points, and I think an extra 500 for getting under par, which I also think is about a minute. But now that you got some practice, it's time to spread your wings. To your garden. Someone who I can only guess is your sister tasks you with cutting the grass while she heads out to do something. She puts a lawnmower bit on the bottom of your helicopter and off you go. You got 50 tall grasses to cut with a fixed camera angle, which adds to the difficulty, but not by much. I found that you don't really ever need to leave the ground too. Just apply slight pressure on the left and right sticks so you can gain speed and move. You can try to bank for turning as well, but just remember that it's relative to the RC and not the camera. I keep forgetting that. When you get done, she thanks you and hands you a crisp 2,000 points, and then you're on your way. At this point in time, I would recommend doing either of these 2 maps several times and just grind a bunch of points for some upgrades, because you start with 3 minutes of flying time and can take up to 5 hits. You can buy these upgrades at the shop. While the upgrade selection is very basic, they're also very straightforward. For both battery and body, there is the normal tier, which gives you an additional minute of battery time and an extra 2 hits to your body for 2,000 points each. Super gets you 2 extra minutes and 4 extra hits for 4,000 points each. Then there's Hyper, netting you 3 more minutes and 6 more hits for a total of 8,000 points each. Please note that the battery and body upgrades don't stack. Your max flying time is 6 minutes and you can only take up to 11 hits. I'd recommend just saving the 16,000 points for both and just maxing out your RC. If the RC that your dad gave you isn't your style, you can buy 2 other ones. The Sky Bear for 20,000 points, which is more stable but it doesn't have a rear rotor to help with whatever it does. It does, however, increase your speed in both horizontal and vertical climbs, so practice may be needed to handle it. Lastly, you can get the Sky Fox for 80,000 points. While it is harder to control, it is even faster and you can perform tricks like flying upside down. Do note, however, that any upgrades you bought do not carry over, so that is an additional chunk of change to upgrade. The next area is the empty lot. A local elderly lady asks if you can remove all 8 cans from the lot as it is ruining the curb appeal. So you get a claw strapped to the bottom and off you go. It features a very obvious can of Pocari Sweat. There's also a very generic can of green tea, and totally not a can of Coca-Cola. This is where you would want a battery upgrade as it is a fairly long task. Unless you can do it within 3 minutes, then you get a genuine kudos from me. Upon completion, you get 3,000 points. Now, you get to head to the Beakley. The fuck is a Beakley? Oh, it's supposed to be a bakery. Anywho, the owner doesn't like the fact that the birds are messy and arms your RC with a water gun and asks you to scare the 10 birds that are around the store. There are 2 caveats here. 1, you're going to want to pick up some battery upgrades as the water gun uses some of your power. And 2, once you clear a bird, it'll come back after 25 seconds, so you're going to want to be fast with it. When you get done, she says that she just doesn't like birds and hands you 6,000 points. Now, you get to go to the only named character's house. His name is Mark and he's a baseball kid. He hit his last baseball onto the roof and needs your help to knock them down. Get close to each one and use the wind generated from the propellers to blow them down. Honestly, there isn't much to say about this one. It's one of the easier maps in the game. Mark gives you the replacement baseball funds, which is about 5,000 points. Now you go to the train station and find a distraught businessman. He dropped his work documents on the track. You are fitted with the claw again. You know the drill. Grab the 6 documents and bring them to the platform. Not much to say here, it's fairly easy. It's time to pass go and collect your 9,000 points. Now it's time for the summer pool episode with one of the thickest men I've seen in the style of anime ever. His students have left their floaties in the pool. This should be quite trivial by now due to it being another easy level, especially since you can land on the water without any repercussions. Once again, we are armed with the claw and must fish out 5 floaties, and we'll be able to collect our reward of 10,500 points. We head inside to go and help the science teacher in the lab because someone broke a lot of glassware in class. Similar to Mike's house, we use the wind from the propellers to blow all 40 glass shards on the floor. This isn't OSHA compliant, but don't worry. The teacher said he will vacuum it all up after. This is also the last easy map in my honest opinion. He gives us 8,000 points for our troubles. We go live to the music room and get asked for a favor. The teacher would like you to put the photos back on the shelf. We get the claw attached again, and all 5 of these photos are on top of the student desks, so you don't have to go to the floor. This map follows the same style as the pool and train station maps in the same way that as long as they touch the shelf after being dropped, it will track. The hardest part of this map is the shelf itself, as there's about one helicopter's length from the wall, and if you aren't careful, it's going to be a bumpy ride. She hands you some funds to go and buy something with it, and it's a whopping 13,500 points. And on top of that, the developers give you an extra 30,000 points. It's basically free money at this point. But you are now getting late back home and you run into your sister outside your house. She tells us that a friend was waiting for us but decided to leave a message. She is waiting at the school. We get there at night and we are back at the pool. Your friend is with the newspaper club and wants to take photos of the nightly ghosts. She straps a camera onto her helicopter and sends us on our way. We have some caveats here as well. We have to be close to the ghosts for it to register, and the camera drains the battery pretty fast. So practice trigger discipline. To enter camera mode, you use the L1 button, as it will bring you into a proper first-person view. Every other time you pressed L1, it brought you into third person, and you usually start in second-person view. I probably should have stated that earlier. My bad. There is a total of 5 ghosts in the pool. The first is a splashing fish, the second is the famous Loch Ness monster, the third is a swamp man, the fourth is a kappa, and the last one is a running fish man. Try your best to get them in order, because if you miss one, you will have to wait for its spot in the cycle. She thanks us and calls the photos cool while paying us 15,000 points. The next 2 are basically identical to the night pool, as in you have to take 5 photos of ghosts. The lab has 4 humanoid figures, throwing glass beakers everywhere, and a skeleton. Same rules apply here from the last one. Try to get them in order as they appear, but watch out for the Skelly Boy. He's a fast one. You'll get 20,000 points for the lab. The music room has 5 ghosts in the form of the musical portraits. They will knock a portrait down and you will hear it, so you know when they spawn. This one rewards you with 20,000 points as well, and it also gets you the credits for the game. And after the credits, you finally get to sleep. With going to bed, you unlock a new map, the mountain. What should be a beautiful view is absolutely ruined with balloons. Let's pop them with the water gun. Now, this is an extra stage that functions exactly like your room at home. You can't damage your helicopter at all and you don't run out of battery. So go nuts. When you get into the gameplay, you can just hold down R1 to unleash a stream of water and fly around. Neat little fact, you don't even need to use the water balloon. You can just run into the balloons and pop them that way. I totally knew this going into the map a second time. The only downside to this map is that you don't get any money for it, and it's just a fun, relaxing map. It's fairly wide open and is a better area to practice flying the other 2 helicopters. Now, I can hear you.
Oi, Mike, you put a correction at the beginning when you were talking about the different locations. Where's the last one?
Yeah, I didn't even know this one existed when I did my first playthrough. I thought the mountain was the last map of the game. But nope, there is another. There's a bunch of fast UFOs in the empty lot. You might want to switch to the Sky Bear, as it is a decent bit faster. So we head back with the water gun and shoot down all 20 of them. Upon completion, we wake up. Man, I really do breathe, sleep, and dream RC helicopters. But hey, that sleep allows us to lock the camera with the L2 button. If I wasn't already almost done with this video, I would have used it for better previews of the helicopters during the shop segment. Note for next time to fully check if I unlocked something else after a bonus map. And that about covers RC Helicopter. For me, this was definitely a game where you play it for an hour or so, and then switch to another game, but come back the next day to do some more. I had quite a bit of fun with it, and I hope you do too. See you all next time.
Round one. Ready? You win.
Rageball was released on the PlayStation 1 console in 2002, which by this point was pretty much the twilight years of that console. It was developed by Nap's team and published by the infamous Midas Interactive Entertainment, which for those who don't know, Midas is known for having some of the worst games ever released on both the PS1 and PS2. So the fact that my dear friend Alma asked me to review this game, knowing that it was published by Midas, suffice to say, it made me a little concerned. But considering I've recommended bad games to my friends in the past and laughed as they squabbled around in it, I suppose it's only fair that they get to point and laugh at me for a change. Okay, let's do this. The game's story is not told through the introduction video. Basically, you have to look through the game's instruction booklet in order to figure out what the story is. But basically, the world's worst criminals are on an asteroid where they have to play this game called Rageball in order to get food, clothes, money, etc. So really, it should sound like fun, right? A gigantic brawl on top of a soccer field where players can just beat the absolute crap out of each other and there's absolutely no rules? Unfortunately, not quite. This game is a very mixed bag at best. There's a lot of positives, but there's also a lot of negatives, which we'll try and cover today. The first big problem with Rageball is there's no difficulty. Basically, when you go to the options menu and you try to select a difficulty, be it easy, medium, hard, there is no difficulty. The AI will come at you with everything it's got. Playing against the AI is an absolute slog. It will absolutely kick your ass from pillar to post. It will show you no mercy, and you need to get good really quick if you want to try and get any enjoyment out of the single player content in this game. My best recommendation, especially if you're a newbie to this game, is to just try exhibition mode. Pick a team that you really like and just go at the AI and try and get better. Try and get used to the way the AI plays, try and figure out certain strategies. That's really the best way I figured out how to play the game. The game's really best played with a friend. Getting into exhibition mode and slogging the ball back and forth at each other while you laugh at each other, that's really the best part of this game. Having a friend play this game with you is really Rageball's biggest strength. But playing against the AI on your own, no, it is not that fun, and it can get very, very frustrating very quickly. The game's not called Rageball for nothing. Tournament mode by far is the toughest mode in the game. It is basically the main campaign, if you want to call it that. But basically you have to buy a team with credits that you are given, and you then have to level up your team, buying extra players, buying extra skills, and so forth, by basically playing through matches and hoping to God that you can survive and hopefully win. The footage that I was able to record for this video, I basically was able to get a draw against the AI because my team was so weak and so damn slow, I could not catch up to the AI. But thankfully I managed to survive to score a 0-0 to get the game to basically draw. And because of that, I was actually able to acquire a good enough money to buy some extra players. So that's probably the best way to begin tournament mode, especially if you're a newcomer. But yeah, tournament mode is very, very tough. The game also has what is known as cup mode, which is basically a tournament where you can play against other teams in an elimination knockout style of tournament to hopefully win the cup. This is probably my favorite section of the game because it doesn't require you to take note of how much money you spend or trying to keep strategy of what players you've got, try to work out things like that. It's basically, nope, you pick your favorite team, get in there and play. Play against other teams, try and knock them out, try to survive as best you can. Cup mode can be tough, especially if you've got a weaker team. But if you pick a strong team and you get in there and you can work out the strategies against the AI, which again will come at you with everything it's got, it can actually be enjoyable. A little bit. There's times when it can get frustrating, but after a while I actually got pretty good at cup mode, and I actually managed to kind of enjoy it a little bit. All in all, Rageball is a very mixed bag for me. Yeah, there's parts of the game that absolutely suck. Playing just against the AI can just really be a slog and can be a real headache at times. But if you can find a friend who's willing to suffer with you, so to speak, and actually play against each other, the game is actually a lot more fun. Definitely more fun with friends. If you can get a friend to slog the ball back and forth with and see if you can out dirty play each other, out cheat each other, out cheap shot each other, this game can actually be surprisingly fun. But playing it single player against the AI, yeah, you've got to have a lot of patience for it. The AI is merciless, especially when it's your first time. The game will just show you absolutely no mercy when you start playing. And unfortunately, due to the lack of difficulty options to be able to, I guess, train yourself to get better, yeah, this is definitely a game published by Midas, alright, because most of their games never had a difficulty option. And so many players who experience their titles often suffered for it. I can speak to personal experience. World War II Soldier, one of the worst games, if not the worst game I've ever played. But that's another story for another time. Thank you, Alma, for having me be part of this set. And Jadow, if you're out there watching, buddy, I hope you had a damn good laugh at me suffering for a change, considering all the times I made you suffer.
Indeed I did, Shaun. Indeed I did. Sorry.
I am the CHB, the cold-hearted bastard, and I shall see you all in infinity.
Well, I'm back. This time, it's to play the other type of sports game I enjoy. In this case, golf. Specifically, it's called putter golf. And after the nightmare I went through trying to get RetroArch to play this game, which, long story short, resulted in a good chunk of my save files getting nuked, this game better be worth it. So yes, we've got ourselves a golf game here, which is right up my alley. I hesitate to call myself good at it, but I do enjoy golf courses in real life, though mainly mini-golf. And of all the Mario sports games, Mario Golf is my favorite sub-series, with Toadstool Tour on the GameCube in particular being a classic for me. Just really relaxing to play with a wide course variety and an awesome soundtrack and visuals. Haven't dabbled too much with the Hot Shots Golf / Everybody's Golf series on PlayStation, but from what little I've played, I think I'd enjoy it. So, how does this budget price counterpart of golf compare? Well, first impression is that the main menu music is just barely legally distinct Mario Golf theme. Okay, off to a good start. you can change a few options, set CPU difficulty, select the course you want, number of players, your character, and then off you go. And... Oh, now I get why it's called putter golf. You know how the formula of regular golf is that you first use a driver or whatever to hit the ball a great distance until you land on the green where the hole is, followed by using a putter to actually get the ball in the hole? Yeah, this game reimagines regular golf as a game where you're only allowed to use the putter. You know, the club that can only send the ball short distances meant for precise aiming. Basically, this game has you playing regular big boy golf as if it were a giant mini golf course. And, okay, if I can give some credit here, on paper this might be an idea with promise. With only being able to use the putter, you'd have to think quite differently from how you normally would when playing regular golf. And I guess it could serve as a good twist on the formula if done correctly. The problem is that this game doesn't do it correctly. Again, this game is basically regular golf played as mini golf, with barely scaled down holes to compensate, and complete with both sand traps and water hazards of regular golf. And we're not talking hazards that are redesigned and placed with mini golf limitations in mind. No, they are treated exactly as they would be in regular golf. Of course, in regular golf, you're generally expected to drive the ball over water hazards, and if you're caught in a sand trap, getting out is as simple as a single drive out of the sand. Here, you have to painstakingly maneuver the ball around both water and sand hazards. And if you're caught in the sand, just hit it as hard as you can and hope to hell the ball will just roll out of it. I hate to sound mean here because, again, this does make you think differently from regular golf and thus gives it its own unique challenge. But believe me when I say that this game currently has me convinced that this system can't work. And it highlights exactly why you can't just take away the driver clubs with these kinds of hazards and these big courses in play. And it's not at all helped by the game's other, more serious problems. Easily the biggest issue I had with this game is that you basically get no feedback as to where your shots are gonna go. Mario Golf was great in giving you a rough estimate of where the ball was going to land. Several things in the UI spell out exactly the distance you have to travel, roughly how far your ball can travel with each stroke, wind speed is mapped out, and you have a bunch of options for changing the strength and accuracy of your shot. This game, you get a blank grid, the ability to zoom further into the grid, and the option of a big putter or a small putter. And, okay, to be fair, putter golf does give you the basic amount of information you need too, but something about it just feels off. It might show you the max distance the ball can reach, but especially with the big putter, it usually doesn't matter since the single pointer you get is often outside of the course, with no trail in between indicating where the ball is gonna go. Combine all of this, and you essentially have to line up your shots based on complete guesswork. And no, don't give me any bullshit about how this is realistic, because there's other big problems with the game that just crush that argument too. The first one being that the level geometry is just not well defined enough. With the exception of the really steep hills, most of each course just looks like a flat block. And guess what? Oftentimes, that's not true. Especially as I reached later holes, I ended up costing myself the par more than once because I couldn't recognize that the slightly jagged edges on the green of the course were actually slopes that were going to send my ball away from the hole. How was I supposed to recognize those were little slopes? I don't know, because sometimes similar jagged edges appear on the course, and it turns out they're perfectly flat. And this is my personal opinion, but when friggin' Rugrats games are able to do golf with more defined level geometry, you know you done fucked up! Oh my god, this hole. Great game we have here. You gotta aim the ball and make sure it goes down the hill and away from the hazards without being able to see, period! All because the camera in this game only lets you look straight ahead and not up or down. And this questionable design sort of ties into my next point, the course designs themselves. There's a total of 3 courses to pick from. One that's just regular golf, one that inserts a variety of obstacles and tricks into each hole, and one that mixes up both styles. For the trick courses, you have a variety of different things here that can help or hinder you. Stuff like boost pads, teleporters, conveyor belts, and hidden tunnels. These do help in giving the courses more variety than usual, but in execution, it honestly felt a little lacking. More than once, it felt like the placement of the tunnels especially gave no real advantage to getting a lower score. Oftentimes, I felt better off just ignoring them. The teleporters were a little better in this regard, but they only appear on like 2 holes, and one of them you have to kind of go out of your way to even get to the teleporter, by which point you could also just shoot the ball to the hole normally, so what's the point? I guess the boost pads and conveyor belts are a neat gimmick, but to me, it ultimately just kind of feels like this trick course was added as an afterthought. And once again, these courses are designed as close as they can be to regular golf, while just barely making enough size concessions to work with the fact that you only have the putter. This design choice for the courses gets especially highlighted by some other small quirks about this game that annoy me. Like how once you get close enough to the hole, you start your stroke automatically pointing towards the hole, even if there's an obstacle or hazard in the way, as if the game's expecting you to hit the ball over it like it's regular golf, when you can't because, once again, you're stuck with the putter. Oh my god, and the turning speed for your aim is too damn slow! To be fair, the mini-golf modes in both Hot Shots Golf and Mario Golf had the same design quirk, where the ball would always point towards the hole at the beginning of every stroke. And yeah, it can make lining up a shot kind of annoying, but number 1, the courses aren't designed in a way that hate you, and 2, the turn speed for lining up your shot is actually reasonable. The last big gameplay mode I can mention is playing against CPUs. As said before, the options menu lets you set a difficulty, but each opponent you select also has their own built-in difficulty, it seems. I'm gonna pick the dog because I'm wondering what varied means in this case. I admit I didn't try the other CPU opponents, but I'd hazard a guess that they're better than they let on to. Yep, I utterly got crushed by Blue the puppy over here, with no chance of recovery from the beginning. But by this point, I was basically just collecting footage of everything the game had to offer, without giving a damn about whether I won or lost, so I didn't care. Although, if I could say another nice thing about the game, because you're shown the CPU's ridiculously precise shots in full detail, you could theoretically study everything the CPU does and try to repeat what they do in order to get hands-on practice with the game outside practice mode. It helps that the CPU is probably going to get first stroke anyway, since they're likely in first place. Not exactly glowing praise, but still, it's something. So yeah, I didn't really like this game. The bowling game from A1 I found to be charming, and something I could see myself playing as a distraction. Putter golf? I wanted to shut the damn thing off so friggin' badly by the end of my recording session. I guess you can say they're both examples of how a budget price game can respectively be a pleasant surprise, or just a plain old stinker. Yeah, Mario Golf and Hot Shots Golf were more expensive games, but in this case, I think they're examples of the higher price being worth it. Seriously, there's almost nothing putter golf can offer you that's done better than what you can get from just playing the mini golf mode in both Mario Golf and Hot Shots Golf. Sorry, Alma, but I guess not all these budget price games could be winners.